UFC Des Moines, this is the full card recap. I'm going to work my way from the first fight of the night all the way to the main event, reviewing each fight one by one, going over the picks, see how we did, and wrap it up with Makai's money-making plays, see if we made some money tonight. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into the video. First fight of the night, we had Juliana Miller taking on Ivana Petrovic. Juliana Miller wins unanimous decision. This fight was honestly boring. It started the night off in the wrong direction, honestly. Ivana Petrovic she looked bad, honestly. She was too willing to stay in the grappling exchanges with Juliana Miller. First round, they both landed a couple of decent shots, but majority of the fight, took place along the cage. A lot of, clinch work. They weren't really throwing a lot of strikes, just controlling each other against the cage. You can see Juliana racked up about 8 minutes of control time, let alone, most of that was on the cage alone. Second round, she secured a takedown, was fighting for a couple submissions, but again, the fight was pretty boring. Started to tune it out a little bit. Petrovic, she looked really slow, honestly. Her strikes it looked like she was like stuck in quicksand the entire fight. She was not throwing anything with like real intentions on it. She just did not do enough to win. She won the second round, I'll give her, but Juliana Miller, edged the first round with control time. In the third round, she had her in a few submission attempts and secured, a position on the mat that ultimately got her the win. Again, this fight was, really boring, not interested in it at all, but Juliana Miller walks away with the decision victory. Next up, we had Thomas Peterson taking on Don'Tale Mayes. It was a really good showcase from Thomas Peterson. He got a 30-25 on the scorecard. I thought that was a little far-fetched. The 30-26 is a little crazy too. He didn't really have Don'Tale, almost out of there. He definitely had, some dominant positions, landed some pretty good shots, some elbows, from top control. Had him in an arm triangle a few times, but again, it wasn't like super dominant. It was dominant, but not dominant enough to get a 30-25, let alone a 30-26. He looked very clean though. He took Don'Tale Mayes down with ease. First round, he came out, exchanged a few strikes with him. Majority of his strikes were, from the top position. You could see the entirety of the fight took place on the mat. Almost 14 minutes of control time, which that's pretty insane. You don't really hear about that unless you look at like a Habib. And Habib, I don't even think Habib had almost 15 minutes of control time because he smashes guys and gets them out of there. But yeah, very impressive from Thomas Peterson. He looked, every bit of like a minus 250 favorite in this one. And I was sweating that over 2.5, but it definitely came through. 30-26, 30-26, 30-25. All the scorecards in favor of him. Don'Tale Mayes did not win around at all. Like I said, he was too slow on the feet, and his takedown defense was trash, honestly. Thomas Peterson did exactly what he needed to do and walked away with the unanimous decision victory. Next up, we had Gaston Balanos taking on Quang Lee. Quang Lee with a beautiful rear naked choke submission in the second round. This was honestly Gaston Balanos' fault. He's pretty good at, creating scrambles and getting back to his feet, but he just gives up his back way too much. And Quang Lee definitely exposed that and took advantage of it. First round, he got him down relatively early and with pretty much with some ease. They didn't really exchange a lot on the feet. Quang Lee, secured a lot of time on the mat, rode, the first round out on his back, and Gaston was not able to get back to his feet at all. Second round, he takes him down pretty easily and early, and he jumps on his back, gets the choke, finishes him in the second round. Pretty good performance for Quang Lee. He had his back against, the fence in this fight because he was probably looking at, getting cut had he gone 0-3 in the UFC. He lost to Gutierrez, and I can't remember the first fight he had, but he finishes Gaston Balanos. I think, a lot of us got aura farmed. This guy kind of looked like, Ilia Topuria a little bit, but I thought Gaston would have some more success in the striking. He landed a few leg kicks, but other than that, you can't really give him much in this fight. He got put to sleep. He didn't tap, which you got to respect, going out on your shield like that. But he was face first in the mat snoring. So shout out to Quang Lee getting the big submission victory. Next up, we had the ladies, Marina Rodriguez taking on Jillian Robertson. This fight went exactly how I thought it would. Jillian, taking her down, controlling her for the majority of the fight. First round, she got her down pretty easily. Garnered some pretty good control time, threatened with a few submissions. Marina could not get back to her feet at all. Second round, she comes out, does the same exact thing. And, rather going for the submission, she gets the finish with some elbows. So shout out to Jillian Robertson. She got it. Jillian Robertson, excuse me. Let me get her name correct. Big finish, and she will be inside the top 10 of the women's strawweight division. It'll be interesting to see, what they give her next. She did call out Amanda Lemos, which I think is a really good call out for her. And that is an interesting fight. It's kind of similar to this Marina Rodriguez fight, except that Amanda Lemos is a really slick grappler herself. And she does have power in her hands. So it'll be interesting to see how they mix it up. I hope that fight gets booked. And it'll be, she'll probably be like 2 fights removed from a title shot if she beats Amanda Lemos. But Jillian Robertson is coming on strong. She's in her prime. Definitely looking to give the top strawweights some competition. So this is that will be an interesting fight. Marina Rodriguez ended up retiring, so we got to give her some respect too. She's put on nothing but pretty much scraps in the UFC. So it was tough to see how she went out, but it was good to see that, she put the gloves down, because I did too think that it was time. But it was a really good performance from Jillian Robertson, and looking forward to hearing her versus Amanda Lemos get booked pretty soon. Next up, we got Ryan Loder taking on Azamat Bekoev. Bekoev smashed Ryan Loder first round. Came in, blitzed him. Ryan Loder could not recover from the big shots that Bekoev was landing. Tight hooks in the in the pocket. Had him up against the cage, rocked him a few times. Mouthpiece almost came out. Loder, his striking defense looked trash. All he was doing really was just moving his head from side to side. He wasn't defending well, and Bekoev just absolutely smashed him. Was ripping to the body, ripping to the head, and Loder looked, absolutely outclassed like I thought he would. Bekoev is, a really strong dude. I know Loder had the height and the reach advantage, but like I said in the breakdown, when he's blitzing you, when he's coming forward and blitzing you, he's a lot bigger than what he presents. So really big, finish for Bekoev. And I did a little bit of matchmaking when I was watching the fights. I was like, man, I wouldn't be opposed to see Bekoev versus Marco Tulio, but we'll see what they do with both of those gentlemen. They had some really good, knockouts in their past 2 fights. So Bekoev, Tulio, I like the sound of that. I know they're kind of like prospects, but middleweight's starting to get, a little deep too. I wouldn't be opposed to both of them squaring off with each other, or, give them somebody that was just in the rankings or lost to a ranked opponent, something like that. I think you could get these guys, up the rankings pretty quick. Maybe like a CLD if they don't give that to Tulio either. So, but yeah, I like this performance from Bekoev. Really, really strong showing for himself. Next up, we had the final prelim on the card: Miesha Tate versus Yana Santos. Hey man, Yana Santos looked good. She was chewing that leg up, Miesha Tate's leg up early, stung her with a big outside leg kick. Miesha Tate probably hasn't felt an outside leg kick in Lord knows how long. And she, hurt her mobility for the entire fight after that. Second round, she was stinging her with some pretty good straight shots. Miesha Tate was wearing the damage too, got cut under the eye and over the eyebrow, I believe. She was unable to, tie her up early on. But that third round, she came out pretty strong, bit down on her mouthpiece, was able to weather the storm, got Yana Santos down, landed some big shots, and then she decided to go for the rear naked choke. I feel as though that was a mistake. If she would have just, she had her in a really compromised position. If she would have just let go of some strikes, she definitely could have got her out of there. You can see she struck her, but majority of that came in the third round. But for majority of the fight, Yana Santos was chewing her up, picking her apart. She looked really good, I gotta say. Definitely, you know, busted a lot of people's picks and parlays. Miesha Tate, she is a dog. She did, you know, show up in the third round, but Yana Santos' striking was ultimately too much for her. She got, you know, she picked her apart, and it was a really good performance from Yana Santos. She said Miesha Tate was actually one of her favorite fighters growing up, and it was a pleasure to share the octagon with her. But it'll be interesting if Yana Santos, she can perform like that. It'll be interesting to see, you know, what they do next. This is a really good win on her record. I know Miesha Tate is 38, but still, it's, you know, it's nice to have a former champion on your record and as a victory. So pretty good performance from Yana Santos. Opening up the main card, we got Lil Heathen, Jeremy Stephens versus Mason Jones. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Mason Jones, I got to question his IQ. I know he won 30-27, but man, he was going for submission attempts with like 15 seconds left in the round. Bro, just let some big ground and pound go. I don't know why he was, you know, shooting for a Kimura or shooting for a choke. Just let the punches go, bro. It was, he could have finished this fight, you know, a few times, I feel as though, but Jeremy Stephens, he's tough. He's gritty. Definitely, you know, showed up and had Iowa in his heart. He was not, you know, going to be bested on the feet. There was some pretty tight exchanges where, you know, Jeremy Stephens got the better of him, and then Mason Jones would come back with something. He definitely was popping Mason Jones' head back with some big straight punches, landed some pretty good hooks in the pocket too. Mason Jones was, you know, mixing it up well, landed some pretty good leg kicks. Jeremy Stephens was throwing some of his own. You could see he actually outlanded him to the legs. But then, you know, the takedowns from Mason Jones started to come into effect. He started to land a lot of them towards the end of each round as well, too. So definitely mixed it up and was able to, you know, secure a victory. I don't know, though. He definitely could have finished Jeremy Stephens, I feel like. But going for submissions and, you know, those compromised positions, I would have definitely preferred for him to just rain down some big shots. But yeah, Jeremy Stephens, he's tough. He's never going to quit on himself, so got to respect that. But Mason Jones walks away with 30-27 victory. Next up, we had the lock of the week, Cameron Smotherman taking on SIDEY. I'm going to get some water for this one. Oh, man. Stay hydrated. Stay hydrated, jeez. Cameron Smotherman looked like he was stuck in quicksand the entire fight. He was not letting his hands go at all. SIDEY was closing the distance pretty well with some, you know, nice tight shots. He was stinging him with some step-in elbows too. He mixed in the wrestling a lot better than I thought he would too. He timed some really good takedowns, catching Cameron before he could even get his offense initiated. Cameron was coming forward but not throwing anything, you know, at all. Not even anything without, you know, any power on it. He just wasn't throwing at all. He would just walk forward. SIDEY did have, you know, a lot of success on the outside. He was comfortable. He never was put in a position to, you know, he was never put in a position where Cameron was getting the better of him. And then he also had, you know, some submission attempts, had that ninja choke on Cameron Smotherman in the, I believe it was like the third round. Almost finished it too. I thought Cameron was going to tap, but he ended up, you know, fighting out of it. And then towards the end of the third round, he decides to, you know, start letting his hands go. He did have a few moments throughout the fight where he was popping SIDEY's head back, but again, he wasn't throwing enough. I know the striking numbers look close, but it really wasn't close if you're watching the fight. I agree with the 30-27. I can't definitively give Smotherman a round, honestly. I know two judges have it 29-28, but I guess you give him the third round because he had a little bit of striking success towards the end. But again, I wouldn't have been mad if it was 30-27 on all three scorecards. I'm not going to say this was like a bad read, but he just did not, you know, show up. He looked a lot better. He looked better in that Jake Hadley fight, and probably because it was such short notice and, you know, it was a different stylistic matchup for Hadley. But yeah, SIDEY came and handled business just like he should have. So respect to him. Next up, we had Montel Jackson taking on Daniel Marcos. This was honestly the fight of the night, in my opinion. This was a really competitive fight. The 30-27, I agree with it. I would have gave it probably 29-28. I think Daniel Marcos had more success in the first round, but it was really interesting to see that both of these guys, utilized the wrestling. Marcos landed a big takedown in the first round. Montel landed some pretty good trips in the first round. Second round, Montel Jackson came out pretty aggressive, landed some really quick 1-2s that had Daniel Marcos a little, he was stutter stepping a little bit, definitely crumbling up. Then Marcos was winging a lot of his shots, but I believe he was doing that just to create the wrestling attempts or to tie up. And he did have some success doing that. He landed a few takedowns. He didn't garner enough control, though. He would take him down, and Montel would just get back to a knee or post back up and get back to his feet after probably like 5-10 seconds. So he didn't, control him enough. There was a few opportunities for Marcos to let some ground and pound let some ground and pound go, but Montel was just too quick to get back to his feet again. Third round, it was a toss-up up until like the last 2 minutes. Montel Jackson ended up landing the takedown, had a little bit of control time on Daniel Marcos, and then he went for a submission attempt, almost locked it in. Daniel was able to, reverse position, take him down with like 15 seconds to go, let a few shots go, but again, Montel Jackson was just too quick for him. And I feel like the striking I know it says 67-24, but the numbers were a little closer to that. Like if you actually watched it, it felt like the striking, as far as the striking goes, it was a little closer. I think Montel landed more shots, when he had control on the mat, but as far as on the feet, other than like those the 1-2s that Montel was able to land, there really wasn't much. I don't know. It was a close fight on the feet. I feel like the separation came with, Montel defending the takedowns well and securing some of his own and the submission attempts. So, really good win for Montel Jackson. He gives Daniel Marcos his first, career loss. And I don't think this is a fraud check. It was a really competitive fight. I know it says 30-27, but the fight was really competitive. Scoring it live, I definitely had it 29-28, Montel Jackson. But this isn't a fraud check. Daniel Marcos is really good. There's not a lot of guys who can replicate the same success that Montel Jackson had. And I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what, both of these guys get. There's bantamweight, I was saying this, I went to a dinner and we were watching the fights. Bantamweight is stacked. So there's a lot of prospects. There's a lot of contenders. There's a lot of ranked opponents that can, end up losing their ranking to a debuting guy. You never know. Bantamweight is definitely stacked. We had, 4 or 5 bantamweight fights on this card alone. So that should tell you something right there. But yeah, shout out to Montel Jackson for the victory. Next up, we had the OGs. Santiago Ponzinibbio taking on Daniel Rodriguez. Pretty good call here. Daniel Rodriguez with the knockout in the third round. He did have Ponzi hurt in the second round, but he started to, wing his shots a lot, and he almost got caught himself. Daniel definitely needs to tighten up the striking if he's going to keep fighting. If he has a guy hurt, needs to, tighten it up, throw some 1-2s. If he would have stayed on the jab the entire fight, he probably would have ended this fight a lot earlier. Ponzi was being really reckless with his strikes, throwing some big, wild hooks like I said he was. D-Rod, if he was, a sharper blade, this fight would have been over in the first round. And I know a lot of people were putting stock into Ponzinibbio because he knocked out Carlston Harris. Carlston Harris is not good. He retired for a reason. And I feel as though Ponzinibbio will probably head down that path too. This was a nasty knockout. Well, it wasn't a nasty knockout, but seeing him, argue with the ref and then try to get back to his feet, run into the cage, it was, that was tough to watch. The stoppage definitely wasn't questionable at all. So, but yeah, D-Rod tightened up the boxing. His boxing used to look a lot crisper than what it did here. He was willing to, trade hooks with Ponzi, and I didn't think that was a good idea. He almost got, clipped himself. He did get touched a few times. But yeah, if he would have tightened it up, kept his punches straight, used that teep to the body that he used in the first round a lot more, definitely could have ended this fight a lot sooner. But D-Rod gets it done, and I think this was the first finish on the main card, right? Yeah. We didn't have a lot of finishes. We had BEKOEV, Quang Lee, Quang Lee, Jillian. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4, and we're almost at the co-main. So 6 finishes. So yeah, I guess even card. I guess co-main event. Man, Rainer de Ridder, Bo Nickel, and I pick flipped. I'm not gonna pick flip again unless it's like a scale issue. This was the fraud check. This is absolutely a fraud check. Bo Nickel, piss poor game plan. And now, looking at this fight, his call out of Hamzat and saying he's gonna be a champion, it is looking terrible. I was at dinner, and one of my friends said he was glad to see Bo Nickel, get handed this loss so he could stop making a game of mixed martial arts. He's a really good wrestler, but man, that did not matter in this fight with Rainer de Ridder. Rainer de Ridder was not afraid to grapple with him. He landed the takedown. He didn't get credit for it, but he definitely landed the takedown. He was in a anaconda choke. Bo flipped him on his back, and then they got back to their feet, and Rainer actually put him down on his back, and he controlled him for the end of the first round. Landed some pretty good ground and pound too. Second round, they come out. De Ridder is forcing the clinch, and Bo Nickel's clinch game is trash. He was getting punched to the body. Rainer landed some knees to the body, and Bo Nickel was shelling up. Did not like what he was feeling. Rainer put him up against the cage, landed a few more shots to the head or to his face and to the body, and Bo started to turn away like, oh man, he was ready to quit. And then they get some separation, and Rainer de Ridder comes in with that knee to the body and shuts Bo Nickel's body down. It was a absolute beautiful performance from Rainer de Ridder. I'm pissed at myself for pick flipping, and I thought Bo Nickel would not entertain the wrestling, but he definitely did, and that's a huge mistake with a guy like Rainer de Ridder. Now I see why he didn't want to do it with Paul Craig, but Paul Craig is not. He didn't have the striking that Rainer de Ridder had in this fight to cause this type of outcome. I definitely thought this matchup was similar to the Paul Craig fight, and it was, except that Rainer de Ridder, was forcing the issue a lot more, and his striking looked a lot better than it has in the past. And Bo Nickel's striking did not look good at all. I know he was talking about it, and that's one of the reasons why I flipped. But man, Rainer de Ridder put it on him. He poured it on Bo Nickel and got him out of there, and absolutely fraud checked him. Absolute fraud check. This is absolutely a fraud check. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to look at the camera. This is a fraud check. Wow. Rainer de Ridder called out Sean Strickland next. I don't know if they give him Sean Strickland. I feel like they setting up that Izzy Strickland rematch. If I had to match make for RDR, I'd probably give him like is Paulo Costa booked? Or Vittori? I'd probably do Vittori. Let's go to middleweight. So de Ridder 13. I know Vittori doesn't have anything booked. Hernandez, who did Hernandez just beat? He beat Brendan Allen. Did he fight after that? No, right? Yeah, he just beat Brendan Allen. Yeah. Fluffy, Vittori, Cannonair maybe. But yeah, I don't think he gets a Sean Strickland fight off of Bo Nickel. I know Bo Nickel did have the hype, but I don't know if they give him Sean Strickland. I would give him Jared, Vittori. maybe even Brendan Allen. I feel like that's the fight. That's the fight right there. Brendan Allen versus Rainer de Ridder. I know it doesn't cause much movement in the division, but I feel like that's the fight to make. Brendan Allen, he would be a really good matchup for Rainer de Ridder. He will, wrestle. He will grapple. He will strike. And it'll probably be the toughest test so far for Rainer de Ridder, I would say. They had the GM3 fight. He was fed that, I would say, and they trained together. But he didn't look good in that fight either. Then he had the Kevin Holland fight. Kevin Holland's a welterweight. And he took him down easily and, submitted him. Bo Nickel, he had a lot of hype, but I don't think that warrants you the shot. He's not jumping all of these people. Like, come on. He's not jumping all these. Whitaker, no. Maybe. If they want to give him like the DDP type of treatment. I feel like Rainer de Ridder is just DDP 2, honestly. DDP striking is a lot better, but yeah. I would give him Brendan Allen probably. But yeah, absolute fraud check in the co-main event. Rainer de Ridder gets it done. Now to the main event of the evening, Corey Sandhagen versus Deiveson Figueredo. Very unfortunate, finish for Deiveson. I feel like it was coming either way. Corey was definitely going to finish the fight. The grappling exchanges were pretty high level. Deiveson was shooting for the heel hooks. Poor decision from, on his behalf. Corey was able to fight out of him multiple times, landed some really good ground and pound. Was looking for his own heel hook at times, but just used it to, get Deiveson on his back. Was smothering him. He looked way too good on the feet, way too fast. Deiveson had that Henry Cejudo influence too. You see him standing really tall and straight up in that karate stance. I hate that stance. But yeah, Corey Sandhagen handled business. It was unfortunate to see that Deiveson's knee popped. It was probably like an ACL or something. We'll find out in the morning. But I feel like the finish was coming pretty soon anyway. Deiveson, his gas tank looked bad after that first round. He was taking some really big, deep breaths. He was getting smashed in that first round too. So, yeah. Corey looked every bit of a minus 600 favorite. He definitely, put it on Deiveson, and it was, a really good stoppage. I mean, it was cool to see that Corey realized, his knee popped, and he showed him some respect immediately after, the ref stopped the fight. But, yeah, title shot for Corey Sandhagen. That's what's next. Winner of Merab versus Sean O'Malley 2. Doesn't matter who. He's getting the next title shot. You can't deny him anymore. Perfect timing. As long as he stays healthy, he's definitely getting the next title shot. So shout out to the Sandman for getting it done by a finish. Whether it was, his knee popped or not, he was going to finish that fight either way. So shout out to Corey for getting it done. Now let's head over to Makai's money-making plays. Man, the anchor leg, as you guys could see, was pretty much Bo Nickel on, a few of these parlays, and Bo absolutely screwed us. Bo money line, Mason Jones money line, Jillian Robertson money line, trashed because of Bo. D-Rod came through, and then Misha and Gaston both lost. Gaston got put out, and Misha lost, unanimous decision. Bo TKO, they should have picked RDR TKO. BEKOEV did his job. Peterson did his job. That does not go through for us. And then we had this over in the Santos and the Misha Tate, and then the over in the Peterson Mays fight, which I was sweating. And then we picked Marcos by decision. Doesn't come through. And then Mason Jones does not hunt for the finish. And then, Jillian Robertson gets the TKO rather than the submission. And then Corey Smotherman does not show up or, put anything on Series City to finish the fight. And then, Cam. But Corey finishes the fight inside the distance. So, man. 1 leg or 2 leg off on majority of these fights. It was, painful to watch, but the card was okay. If I had to rate it out of 10, I'll probably give it like a 6. It was kind of boring to start, but the main card, definitely carried. I'll say it wasn't compared to Kansas City, definitely was not better. So, but I do like these fight night cards are getting better and better. I feel like what's the next one? The Burns versus Morales would probably be a little better than this one, but we'll see. This was it was a solid night. Let's go over the picks though. Miller over Petrovic, so 0-1, 1-1 with Thomas, 1-2. We pick Gaston here, gets subbed up. 2-2, Jillian gets it done. 3-2, Azamat with the KO. We called that. 3-3, Yana Santos wins over Misha Tate. 4-3, Mason Jones gets it done. Lock of the week does not come through, so 4-4 is Series City. 4-5, Montel Jackson wins it by unanimous decision. 5-5, D-Rod wins with the KO over Ponzi. 5-6, RDR with the pick flip. If I didn't pick flip, we'd go 7-5? Yeah, 7-5. But 6-6 with Corey Sandhagen finishing the fight. Mediocre, absolutely mediocre. But we got UFC 315 next week, so I'm already putting my head down for that one. Definitely, doing my due diligence to not have another 6-6 night. Definitely trying to go up from here. So thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know what was your favorite fight on the card. Do you agree with Bo Nickal getting fraud checked? Do you think Daniel Marcos got fraud checked? Are you, excited to see Corey Sandhagen get a title shot? Do you think he gets a title shot? Let me know what you guys think about this card in the comments. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys for UFC 315, Bilal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one.